Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of NintendoFuse's Industry Talk. My name is Barry, and I'm here today joined by a very special guest, Andrea Leoni of BitNine Studio.
Hello. Hey
N-
there.
Now, Andrea has been working on a wonderful game that just came out on the Steam and on the Nintendo Switch called Terrorbane. And we're going to get all into Terrorbane, but first, before we get into that, let's let everybody know a little bit about you. So, why don't you tell, everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am story writer for BitNine Studio. BitNine Studio is the team, the company behind Terrorbane. It's just three people: me, my brother Matteo, and our cousin Luca Spazzoli. Um, so it's kind of all in the family. It's a very Italian way to say uh, like that, but yeah, it's a very. We were childhood friends. We started out as players and spent a whole childhood playing games. We've accrued a ton of knowledge about every single kind of genre and games possible out there. And it all exploded one day when we came up with the idea for Terabane. And it is the reflection of that passion. So, yeah, we started out a company, we started making this game, and here it is, finally, after all those years of work.
Yeah, you know what? That is awesome. Now, is this your guys' first game? Like, is this your first entry into the gaming space?
Well, we started out making mobile games first to kind of get our bearings on Unity, our main engine for the game. But they were all very short, freeware kind of games.
Hmm.
And so this is the very first game we actually sell as a commercial product, and it's the first game to be more than 10 minutes long. So it is our way of saying hello world.
Hello World. That's a fitting thing for any programmer to know. Hello World. So this game is so unique, and I'm just gonna go out there and say this kind of falls into a subgenre that I put with like Undertale, that quirky fourth wall breaking, really critical thinking kind of game where it's not as just simple start to end. There's a lot in between to digest, and I think that is a very untapped genre in my opinion. So I have to know, how did this come about? Because this is such a novel idea.
First of all, thanks for dropping out incredible names like Undertale. I really hope we can aspire to that greatness. What really was the first inception of Terabane was, as all the best things in life, part embarrassing, part funny. Luca, our main programmer for the game, was working with my brother. Originally, I wasn't part of the team, way back in 2014 when they first started. And they were doing all of these freeware games I was talking about before. And as you do, you fill your games with, well, bugs. Because as you code, you might forget something or make a typo or something like that. And some of them just had this charge, this potential for comedy. We've always been a group that likes to joke around, create memes that live and die inside our own small circle. But these bugs would be so powerful, so funny that we would remember them years after the fact. And so it came to him that it would be a good idea to base an entire game out of this concept using the inherent comedic value that a bug has, that a glitch happening on your screen might have. And so Terabane came to be.
That is, it's such a novel concept because
Thank you.
there have been games that have done that kind of fourth wall breaking before with the codes or with glitches and stuff like that, but it's always been just like a little piece of it or a little bonus thing. And some games like Eternal Darkness, for example, on the
Ooh,
GameCube, really did some kind
such a
of
great
out
game.
there stuff, and really
Mhm.
kind of got the player involved. And I feel like there's not a lot of games that do that. And you took this concept and you ran with it. Like you
Yeah,
ran,
all the
like the
way
whole
down.
game is just it's almost like the game is more about just it is finding the bugs and seeing what kind of crazy things you could do, more so than even the story, which is kind of novel in that sense. And I know you're the story writer, so it's kind of weird to say that, but it is kind of the way it is.
Oh,
Uh,
it is the design, yes.
Now, ironically, because this is designed around bugs, I'm kind of curious. Are there any challenges? Like, what challenges did you face while doing this? Did you face bugs of your own while programming the bug?
Of course we did. So many of them. Fortunately, they are not in the finished product, but some of them were funny. We kept them. I can quote a few.
Yeah.
There's a bug in the throne room. If you play the game, you probably encounter a throne room at some point. There's the king and there's the guards guarding the king. But one day we just forgot the colliders for the guards, and we noticed that if you went and touched the guards, they would just bump on your character and start rolling around in funny ways. We kept it. We it was so funny to see them roll around that we added little messages over their heads saying, "Hey, wait, why are you doing this?" Um, and yeah, it there were many challenges, to be honest. One of them is still very much present now in going against the current. We had a very long development cycle, and we struggled a lot with having to explain all of this broken stuff to people that are very used to seeing stuff go right. And so one of the things we hit our heads with, I think even recently, is that the game does not end when you reach the end. It's actually, you're actually at 1/3 of progression, but it makes you see a fake ending, and people just stop playing there. And it's really difficult to go against those ingrained ways of playing. Even if I go out there and spell it out for them and say, you know, this is a fake ending, don't take it seriously. But many people just take it seriously. It's a rule, and it's a challenge to overcome such a rule. Another great challenge that we had to face, I think we managed to face it correctly and managed to overcome it, was the idea that our game, since it's comedic, had to stay fresh, had to stay interesting for all the many hours you play for the game. How did we do that? We needed to change gameplay and setting and characters constantly. That would mean we would not have the luxury of one single gameplay concept loop to just reiterate upon and build upon, but we had to reinvent the wheel every single level because it would use different rules. You would have to explain them to the player again or in a different way completely. And that made for a very long development cycle. But I think it was worth it. I hope that players will enjoy the sheer madness of it all.
Yes, I can agree with that. I was talking with some of our reviewers, and we were just talking about the game, and I was like, "Oh, well, what did you think about this?" And like that, I didn't see that. I didn't do that. And
Yeah.
like it was at that point that I realized that this game is not linear at all. Like it's linear to a point, but there's so many branching paths and so many things to see. And like you mentioned that fake ending, I was like, oh, cool, I'm done. And then I'm like, wait, no, but there's all these other things. And I went back and I don't usually replay games, and I've been replaying this,
Yeah.
trying to unlock new scenarios and see new things. And even just before this, I was messing around with it and saw some stuff I never saw before. And I was like, this game just keeps adding on. I love it. Um,
Thank you.
Now, because there's so many ideas, obviously, there's so many things going on. Were there any things you couldn't or didn't use that maybe you're saving for later, or just things that you're like, you know what, we have to cut this?
Many, many, many. So many were due much more on our strength, on our resources being limited to 3 people and as much budget as we could scrounge up. But I can say with confidence that although we're not able to go as deep as we wanted with how bugs interacted with each other, in terms of variety and in terms of just all the crazy stuff that we could think about, we pulled no punches. Uh,
That's true.
you cannot, for example, combine bugs or use them in tandem because we had to keep them separated from each other. But you can find very different bugs and no repeating bug whatsoever. They're all unique and different from each other.
That is definitely a testament to how unique and different they all are. And again, I use Eternal
Again,
Darkness, and it's almost like some of these bugs are insanity effects if you've played that.
yeah,
That
definitely.
that's for sure. And now with all these, you mentioned that there's so many ideas that you didn't do, that you wanted to do. I think of all games out there, this
Hmm.
game meta-wise needs DLC. I think in meta wise, it would perfectly fit the storyline with the developer, and adding something and especially all these ideas now that you got the base game out there. Is this a plan? Are you guys talking about DLC and doing something with that?
Well, we have a lot of ideas. We talk constantly of how we would like to continue Terrorbane,
Yeah.
but I guess it all depends on players. We have we certainly have enough material to make another Terrorbane altogether in our heads, and we know we could do it. But we'll have to see what the players say about it. Maybe they want something more from Terrorbane 1. Maybe they want a Terrorbane 2. Maybe they don't want anything to do with this. We'll wait and see for a bit, and then I guess we'll start working again.
That's definitely a good thing. Now, with all these different aspects of the game, I'm kind of curious because you're the writer, and I know this is going to be a really probably loaded or hard question to answer because, as a writer myself, I know like all my stories are like my children, right?
Yeah,
So I'm
they
kind of
are.
curious, do you have any specific favorite part or maybe favorite parts, that are just like you enjoyed writing the most, or you enjoyed seeing come to life the most, or you enjoyed seeing other people playing the game and their reactions to the most? And I know that could be tough because you probably love all of it equally, but
Hmm. It's very different. It's very difficult. I think. Well, characters are your children
yes.
when you write, of course, but they also serve a role. I'm very conscious of what role they serve and why I invented them in the first place. I would say that the most interesting character of them all is the developer.
Oh, for sure.
At this point, you might have noticed that I voiced the character. This was not always the plan. It was a very recent addition. The character was supposed to be silent and only communicating with you through its keyboard. But in the end, it came about that we should voice him to make him more understandable, to make him more empathically available to the player. Um, he is a very, very strange character. He is written purposely not to share our opinion of players and our opinion of the world of development. He is a character, and so very much separate from BitNine's thought. I want to say this, it's very important.
Disclaimer.
He's also written very irritatingly. He is a grating, annoying presence, but he's also funny. And making him just get angry is supposed to be the most funny thing you can do. Um, but he's also written to have some kind of places where his voice just and his facade just breaks up. And he shows a complexity underneath. And this complexity only comes to fruition not while you're playing the game, especially not while you're replaying the game, but only once you unlock the true ending, which is a whole hidden level, exactly as long as the others, and which hides the true meaning of the experience. And it was a bold choice to hide this deepness, this added complexity to the game behind a gate. But we think it's important to reward those people that go the extra mile with something they can connect with, and that's the reasoning behind the choice. Um, unlocking the true ending is not that difficult. It requires you to find every level that is hidden in the game and see it at least once, and to unlock roughly 70% of the bugs in your bug list. At that point, you finally exit from the loop that the game is supposed to embody. And this loop is kind of a Schrödinger box where everything is true and everything happens at the same time. And once you're outside, then you can stop looping.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of went on babbling.
No, it's fine. No, that's I didn't get that true ending yet. I think there's one scenario I'm missing personally, or the end. I'm missing one of the final sections. But it's like I said, I'm not a guy who usually replays a game, especially not right away. And I had to jump back in knowing that I missed so much, and still trying to find all those bugs. It's been a blast, and it's like definitely a game that deserves exploration, deserves time, deserves like digestion. You can't just like boom, I'm gonna be done with it really quickly. It's you have to digest everything. So now, I mean, you're talking about Terrorbane 2, DLC, are those the main things you're thinking about with what's next, or you have ideas for a brand new series as well? Or, like, where does BitNine go?
Want to go? Yeah. Like to think that we're creative people and we do have ideas. Once again, talking about the future, this is our first kind of project, big project. And our next move will depend strongly on the reaction on Terrorbane. We do have ideas for other IPs or other complete strange stuff that we want to do. But the strangeness of them will depend a lot on what is the reaction to Terrorbane, because Terrorbane was a very strange thing to do, and we wanted to do something unique. And the mechanic of finding bugs and collecting bugs and having a story being completely non-linear and hidden behind a fake ending, all of these are just trials. We don't know if they will work as well as we think they do, and that we hope they do, but we'll see. We'll see how much liberty we can take with the next thing we work upon. But I also like to say that BitNine, its name says it, wants to do something strange, something quirky, something new. It wants to be the ninth bit, and the something more.
I like that. Just go above and beyond. Now I ask this question to every developer I've talked with, and it's always an interesting question. If the phone were to ring right now, and you picked it up, and it was anybody you wanted, doesn't matter, telling you that you guys, BitNine, you guys are in charge of doing the next game in whatever installment you want. What game would you like that person to tell you that you're now in charge of the next installment of? What series would you love to have that phone call and be able to work on?
I don't deserve it. I'll say it before I say anything else. I'll say I don't deserve it. But I would really like to make a Final Fantasy. I don't know if you've noticed, but the game Terrorbane is so full of references to Final Fantasy.
So full.
It's one of my favorite sagas of all time. And I think Final Fantasy has been so all over the place that it can do everything with its setting. And I think it also has that pure adventure kind of call. When I play a Final Fantasy, there are some that I enjoy less than others, but everyone has their favorites. Every time I pick up a Final Fantasy, I know I'm about to go on an adventure. And this pure feeling is something incredible. The very same thing you might feel, for example, in Breath of the Wild, something you might feel starting out Skyrim, that feeling of I'm going on an adventure. And yeah, I would really like to be able to participate in making something like that.
I
Uh,
think you would be fantastic at it because there are a lot of Final Fantasy feelings and references, and even small little like one lines like the little cactus. I just chuckled. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And obviously the weapons that are in the blacksmith, and there's a lot of fun
Outsoar.
little things. I don't want to spoil more, but there's more Final Fantasy references. That is great. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan
Thank
myself, so I condone it. I think you would do a great job. Square, start calling now immediately. Let's get this going.
Come on.
Um, so
Thank you
so
very much.
before we wrap this up, I want to know if there's anything you would like to say to the listeners or the watchers, the why they should pick up Terrorbane and give it a shot.
Hmm. All right, it's a difficult question, but I'll try my best. Why I think you should pick up Terabane is because Terabane has been brave, brave to do away with many of the trappings and norms video games have built your minds around. I'm not saying that we managed to pave a new road for you to walk. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but we certainly tried. And if you find that this game surprises you, makes you think about the way you think about games, then I say mission accomplished. And so the only way to know that is to play the game yourself.
That's intriguing right there, and you should absolutely give this game a shot and for yourself. And if you want to do that, you can go to the Nintendo Switch eShop. You can find it there as well as their website for the eShop, as well as Steam. So it is out now. So please give this game some love. If you want to know more about Terrorbane, you can always go to terrorbane.com, and on Twitter you could follow them at terrorbane_BNS. And speaking of BitNine Studio, if you want to learn a little bit more about them, you could follow them on Twitter at BitNine Studio. Andrea, thank you so much for your time today and
Thank
talking
you.
with me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
The same, the very same. Thank you for giving us this space.
Absolutely. And for all other Nintendo news, podcasts, game chats, and more industry talks like this, please go to nintendofuse.com. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.